My family skipped my graduation for my brother's barbecue, even my husband and kids. As I walked off stage, his message stopped me cold. We need to talk. Urgently. Then I saw 45 missed calls. You know that feeling when you pour your entire soul into something, sacrificing everything, only to realize the people who should love you most just don't care? That was me. I stood on that graduation stage, diploma in hand, utterly alone. 5 empty seats stared back at me like a gaping wound, a stark reminder of the family who never showed. But the real gut punch? That came after the ceremony, with an urgent message that shattered everything I thought I knew about my life. My name is Alicia, and at 35, I'd finally done it. 5 grueling years. Night classes, a demanding full-time job as a financial analyst at Franklin Financial, and raising 2 amazing kids, Ethan, our 14-year-old, who was deep in that angsty teenage phase, and Sophia, my bright 11-year-old, who was quickly becoming a social butterfly. My husband, Nathan, a 37-year-old software developer, had been by my side for 12 years. We had this comfortable, if not flashy, 4-bedroom house in the Seattle suburbs. Life was full. But for years, I'd watched male colleagues with less experience climb the ladder past me. My boss always had the same line: "You need more credentials, Alicia. A bachelor's is great, but everyone has that. If you want senior management, you need a master's." After the 3rd time I was passed over, I hit my breaking point. I decided right then, I was getting that MBA. No matter what. The university across town offered evening classes, perfect for working professionals. 5 years part-time. I figured it was an investment in our future. What I didn't anticipate was just how punishing that schedule would be. My days started at 5:30 a.m., prepping breakfast and lunches. Then a full workday, rushing to class 3 evenings a week from 6 to 9 p.m., coming home utterly exhausted to a sink full of dishes and homework still needing a check. Weekends? Forget relaxing. I'd lock myself in the home office for hours, buried in assignments, while Nathan took the kids to soccer or parties. Mom is always studying. I once overheard Ethan grumble to his dad. She never has time for us anymore. God, those words stung. I tried to rationalize it. This was temporary. This was for us. Once I had that degree and the promotion that would follow, we'd have more stability, maybe even enough for that Disney World trip the kids were begging for. Then there was my brother, Derek. 3 years older, the golden child. Successful real estate business, waterfront property, a bachelor with no kids, free to travel, sail, collect wine. Our parents, who lived 2 states away in California, never even tried to hide their preference. They'd show up for every one of his football games, but my academic competitions? Often missed. As adults, they'd drop everything to help Derek renovate his kitchen, but when I needed help with the kids during my finals, it was always an excuse. "Your brother's just more fun to be around," my mother once told me point blank when I confronted her about it. "You're always so serious and busy with your responsibilities." The irony, I tell you, of being penalized for being responsible. But I persevered. Writing papers until 2 a.m., studying flashcards on lunch breaks, sacrificing vacations to get ahead. When friends invited us out, I usually had to decline. Nathan was supportive at first, picking up the slack, encouraging me. But as the years dragged on, his patience wore thin. "How much longer is this going to take?" he'd ask. "The kids barely see you. Just 2 more years, then 1 more, then a few more months." By the time graduation finally approached, our marriage was strained. We still loved each other, but the distance had grown. Nathan had his own routines, his own social circles, often taking the kids to events or to visit his parents without me. I'd missed so many family dinners, school performances, weekend outings. It had just become normal for them to function without me. Which is precisely why this graduation ceremony meant so much. It wasn't just the degree or the career boost. It was a chance to show my family, especially my children, that all those sacrifices meant something. I wanted them to see me walk across that stage, to feel proud of their mom, to understand that women can pursue education at any stage. I wanted that moment of recognition, that collective celebration, to make the past 5 years of exhaustion worth it. When I graduate, I told Nathan about 6 months out, I want everyone there. You, the kids, my parents, even my sister Melissa from Phoenix. This is going to be a big day for all of us. He'd squeezed my hand. Of course, babe. We wouldn't miss it for the world. If only I'd known how hollow those words would sound. 6 months before, I started meticulous planning. The university sent details, including limited guest tickets. I requested the maximum 6. Nathan, Ethan, Sophia, Mom, Dad, Melissa. I called my parents. They duly wrote the date down. "We'll try our best to make it, sweetie," Mom said, in a tone that immediately told me she was already weighing other options. Still, I was optimistic. My graduation. Surely, they'd prioritize it. Melissa, bless her, was genuinely excited. "You're superwoman, sis." I'll book my flight next week. Family attendance seemingly secured, I planned the celebration. Bellissimo, a highly rated Italian place near the university. Expensive, nearly $300 for the reservation, but it was a once-in-a-lifetime occasion. Deposit down. For my parents, since they were traveling, I even booked them a Marriott room downtown using my business points. Everything was falling into place. For once, I allowed myself to feel excitement, not stress about school. 2 months out, I splurged on a new dress, a sophisticated navy blue sheath. Hair, makeup, manicure appointments scheduled for the morning of. Luxuries I rarely indulged in, always putting family expenses first. But I wanted to look and feel my best. "Mom, you look pretty," Sophia said when I tried it on. "Like when you and Dad got married." Tears sprang to my eyes. I couldn't remember the last time I dressed up for anything other than work. Then, 3 weeks before graduation, the first hint of trouble. Derek called. After perfunctory questions about my studies, he dropped a bombshell. "By the way, I'm throwing a massive barbecue at my place on May 15th. Just installed a new outdoor kitchen. Want to break it in? You guys should come. Kids would love the pool." My stomach dropped. "Derek, that's my graduation day. I told everyone months ago." A pause. "Oh, right. I forgot about that." I tried to keep my voice level. "Can you change your barbecue?" "Not really," he replied, sounding completely unconcerned. "I've already invited like 30 people, including clients who are only in town that weekend. But hey, when does your ceremony end? Maybe you can stop by afterward." My blood pressure spiked. "The ceremony is at 2 p.m., probably until 5. Then we have dinner reservations." "That's not the point. My family is supposed to be at my graduation." "Come on, Alicia," Derek said with that dismissive tone he'd perfected since childhood. "It's just a graduation. You already had one for your bachelor's. This is just a piece of paper saying you took some extra classes." I was speechless. Just a piece of paper, 5 years of sacrifice reduced to some extra classes? Before I could formulate a response that wasn't purely profanity, he continued, "Look, Mom and Dad are coming to my barbecue. They already confirmed. And they're bringing Aunt Susan and Uncle Joe who are visiting from Florida. You know how rarely we see them." Now I was truly seeing red. "You told Mom and Dad about your barbecue before checking with me about the date, even though you knew my graduation was coming up?" "I didn't realize it was such a big deal," he said defensively. "You're 35, not 22. It's not like this is your first rodeo." We argued for another 10 minutes. Derek wouldn't budge. I grew increasingly upset. By the time I hung up, I was shaking with anger, fighting back tears. I immediately called my mother, hoping she'd see reason. "Mom, Derek scheduled a barbecue on my graduation day. You can't go to that instead." Her response was infuriatingly diplomatic. "Oh dear, what bad timing. Can you both reschedule?" "No, Mom. The university doesn't change commencement dates for individuals. This has been planned for a year. I told you about it 6 months ago." "Well, it's just so difficult," she sighed. "Your aunt and uncle will be here from Florida, and you know your father loves Derek's barbecues. Can't we come to both?" The conversation devolved. My mother actually suggested I was being selfish for not understanding the family's desire to attend both events, as if that were physically possible. That evening, I tearfully recounted the conversation to Nathan, expecting his unwavering support. He listened attentively, rubbing my back. "Your family has always been like this," he said soothingly. "But hey, you'll still have us there cheering you on. Me and the kids will be your fan club. That's what really matters, right?" His words calmed me somewhat. He was right. As long as my immediate family, my husband and children, were there, I could handle my parents' predictable preference for Derek. After all, Nathan and the kids had witnessed the daily struggle, the late nights, the stress, the missed family events. They understood what this achievement meant. "Promise me you 3 will be there," I said, looking into his eyes. "No matter what." "I promise," Nathan replied, kissing my forehead. Nothing could keep us away. I wanted desperately to believe him. The day before graduation. A flurry of last-minute preparations. Cap and gown picked up, hung carefully. Best shoes polished. Phone and camera charged. My excitement was tinged with anxiety. Despite Nathan's assurances, I couldn't shake the feeling something would go wrong. 2 days earlier, I'd received a formal email from my parents, overly polite, explaining they'd be at Derek's barbecue. They promised dinner next time they were in town. I read it once, deleted it. Melissa had also backed out, calling with genuine regret. Her youngest had chickenpox. I understood, but it still added to my growing sense of abandonment. "At least I still have you 3, I said to Nathan as we prepared dinner that evening. He nodded distractedly, focused on his phone. He'd been texting frequently all day, but I thought nothing of it. Until my own phone rang. It was my mother. "Alicia? I just wanted to call and see if the kids are still coming to Derek's tomorrow. He's setting up games for all the children, and Sophia and Ethan are on his list." I nearly dropped the pot of pasta I was draining. What? No, Mom. The kids are coming to my graduation with Nathan. Oh, she sounded confused. Derek said Nathan mentioned bringing them to the barbecue. There will be several families there with children their age, and Derek hired a lifeguard for the pool. They'd have much more fun than sitting through a long ceremony. My hands were shaking as I sat down the pot. I looked at Nathan, who was suddenly very interested in chopping vegetables. Mom, I need to go, I said abruptly, ending the call. The silence in the kitchen was deafening until I broke it. Nathan, why does my mother think you and the kids are going to Derek's barbecue tomorrow? He wouldn't meet my eyes. I might have mentioned to Derek that the kids were asking about the party. They heard about the pool and games from their cousins, and you told him you were bringing them without discussing it with me first. Nathan finally looked up, his expression a mixture of guilt and defiance. Alicia, be reasonable. The ceremony is going to be 3 hours of sitting quietly while hundreds of names are called. The kids will be bored out of their minds. So instead of teaching them about supporting family and celebrating achievements, you're teaching them that fun always comes first? My voice was rising, despite my efforts to stay calm. This graduation represents 5 years of sacrificing time with them to build a better future for us. Do you not think it's important for them to see that hard work pays off? Nathan sighed heavily. Of course, I do, but the kids really want to go to the barbecue. Ethan's been talking nonstop about swimming with his cousins, and Sophia heard her friend Jasmine from soccer will be there. Derek invited her whole family. So, what are you saying? I asked, though I already knew the answer. That you want to take our children to a barbecue instead of watching their mother graduate with honors? Can't we compromise? Nathan suggested, his tone irritatingly reasonable. Maybe I take the kids to the barbecue and we meet you at the restaurant afterward? Or I could come to the ceremony alone and pick you up after dropping the kids at Derek's. I stared at him in disbelief. Do you hear yourself? This isn't about negotiating a business deal. This is about being there for me on one of the most important days of my life. You're being dramatic, Nathan muttered. It's just a graduation ceremony. Just a graduation ceremony, the exact words Derek had used. As if my accomplishment was trivial, a minor inconvenience in their social calendars. 5 years, Nathan, I said, my voice quivering. 5 years of missing bedtimes. Of studying until 2 in the morning. Of using every vacation day for exams instead of family trips. 5 years of you complaining about my absence, of the kids feeling neglected, of me carrying guilt on top of exhaustion. And now that it's finally over, now that I want one day, just one single day of recognition and support, you're all too busy with the barbecue. The kids should be able to decide for themselves, he countered. They're 14 and 11. Of course, they'd choose a pool party over a graduation ceremony. That's why parents make decisions based on values, not on what's more fun. The argument escalated. Ethan and Sophia came downstairs, drawn by our raised voices. When they realized what we were fighting about, they predictably sided with their father. Ethan declared that only nerds cared about graduation ceremonies, and Sophia tearfully asked why I wanted to ruin their fun. I went to bed that night without eating, too upset to stomach food. Nathan slept on the couch, a rare occurrence. As I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, I wondered how we'd reached this point. How had my family become so disconnected from my life, so dismissive of my achievements? The irony was painful. I had pursued this degree primarily for them, to provide a better lifestyle, to be a role model. Yet, they couldn't give me a single afternoon of support in return. I cried silently into my pillow, mourning not just tomorrow's inevitable disappointment, but something deeper. A fundamental misalignment in how my family and I valued each other's lives. Sleep evaded me until the early hours. My graduation outfit hung like a ghost in the corner of the bedroom, a symbol of tomorrow's empty celebration. I woke up disoriented after a few hours of restless sleep. For a moment, I forgot the previous night's argument, my mind automatically shifting into graduation day excitement. Then, reality crashed back. I reached across the bed. Nathan's side was empty and cold. Dragging myself to the bathroom, I splashed cold water on my puffy eyes, trying to summon some enthusiasm. This was still my day, my achievement. I wouldn't let their absence completely ruin it. Downstairs, the house was eerily quiet. No breakfast sounds, no cartoons, no bickering children. On the kitchen counter sat a hastily scrawled note. Took the kids to Derek's early to help set up. We'll try to make it back for your ceremony. Congratulations, Nathan. The note felt like a physical blow. Not even a proper goodbye, just an afterthought. I crumpled it, threw it in the trash, and made myself coffee with trembling hands. It was 9:30 a.m. Hair appointment at 10, makeup at 11. Ceremony at 2. Graduates needed to arrive by 1. Despite the hollow feeling, I forced myself to follow the schedule. The stylist commented on my subdued mood, but professionally avoided prying. The makeup artist did her best to conceal my swollen eyes and pale complexion, creating a polished look that contrasted sharply with my inner turmoil. Back home, I carefully put on my new dress, straightened the cap on my styled hair, adjusted the gown. I took a selfie in the full-length mirror, trying to smile, trying to feel something beyond the hurt. I posted it to social media, a caption about achieving goals, tagging my family members out of habit, or perhaps spite. The congratulatory comments started immediately. Coworkers, distant relatives, old high school friends, all expressing pride and excitement. Everyone except those who mattered most. I texted Nathan before leaving. I'm heading to the ceremony now. Are you still planning to come? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then reappeared. Finally, Ethan took a bad fall while running around the pool. Nothing serious, but lots of tears. Might be late. Save us seats if you can. I didn't bother responding. Seats were assigned by graduate name. Family seating was general admission. There were no seats to save. Nathan knew this. He'd read the information packet I'd left prominently on the kitchen counter for weeks. His message was just another flimsy excuse, another way to soften the blow. The drive to the university was a blur. I parked in the crowded garage and made my way to the auditorium. Around me, students greeted family members, posed for photos, received flowers and hugs. I kept my head down, focusing on finding my place in the alphabetical lineup. My phone buzzed with encouraging messages from Linda, my closest work friend, and Professor Jenkins, who'd written my recommendation for a senior analyst position. Their words were kind, but only emphasized the silence from my family. The graduates processed into the main hall to pomp and circumstance, an ocean of identical black gowns. From the stage, I scanned the audience irrationally, hoping to spot Nathan and the kids slipping in late. The ceremony began with speeches about perseverance and work-life balance, words that felt directed specifically at me. When my department was called, I rose with my row. In those moments of anticipation, I made a decision. I would enjoy this moment for myself, not for anyone else. I had earned this. Alicia Marie Williams, Master of Business Administration with honors. I walked across the stage, head held high, shook the dean's hand, accepted my diploma case, and moved the tassel. Polite applause, the same as for every other graduate. No distinctive cheers, no special whistles, just the anonymous recognition of strangers witnessing another stranger's milestone. After returning to my seat, I felt oddly calm. The hurt was still there, but it had crystallized into something harder, something that felt like resolve. I sat through the rest of the ceremony in a detached state, clapping automatically, my mind wandering to what would come next. How I would address this betrayal with my family, what it meant for my marriage, for my relationship with my children, for my sense of self-worth. When the ceremony ended, graduates flooded the lawn for photos. I stood awkwardly at the periphery, watching families reunite. Flowers exchanged, champagne popped. I took a few obligatory photos with classmates, feeling like an imposter in their joy. I checked my phone obsessively. No messages from Nathan. No calls from the kids. Nothing from my parents or Derek. Then I scrolled through social media. Derek had posted photos of his barbecue, tagging my parents, Nathan, and the children. They were all smiling, gathered around a fire pit, roasting marshmallows. The timestamp showed it had been posted 30 minutes ago, right in the middle of my graduation ceremony. Something broke inside me. A dam of emotions I'd been holding back all day burst. I found a quiet corner behind the science building and let myself cry. Ugly, heaving sobs that smeared my carefully applied makeup and left me gasping for breath. When I finally composed myself, I decided to cancel the restaurant reservation. There was no point now. As I pulled up the number, a text appeared from Nathan. We need to talk urgently. Immediately afterward, I noticed something that sent a chill through me. 45 missed calls from Nathan, all within the past hour. My heart rate doubled. 45 missed calls could only mean an emergency. Had something happened to one of the kids? To my parents? An accident? I had silenced my phone during the ceremony. In my emotional state, I hadn't thought to check for calls, only messages. With shaking fingers, I called Nathan back. He answered on the first ring. Alicia, thank God. His voice was high-pitched with panic. I've been trying to reach you for over an hour. What happened? I demanded, already walking quickly toward the parking garage. Is everyone okay? It's Ethan, Nathan said, his words tumbling out in a rush. He was climbing on that ridiculous new water slide Derek installed, showing off for his cousins, and he fell. We're at Memorial Hospital. The doctor thinks his arm is broken. I'll be right there, I said, breaking into a run despite my heels. Is he in a lot of pain? How bad is it? They gave him something for the pain, but he's pretty shaken up. He keeps asking for you. That last part sent a wave of conflicting emotions through me. On one hand, my maternal instinct kicked in, desperate to reach my injured child. On the other, a small, bitter voice noted that now, suddenly, my presence was essential. I drove to the hospital in a state of heightened anxiety, alternating between concern for Ethan and residual anger. The graduation gown lay crumpled on my passenger seat, the cap tossed carelessly in the back. My diploma case sat unopened on the dashboard. Memorial Hospital was only 15 minutes from campus, but the drive felt interminable. I found parking and rushed inside, still in my navy blue dress, my styled hair falling loose. The ER was busy. I gave Ethan's name and was directed to Bay 7. Drawing back the curtain, I found a scene that stopped me in my tracks. Ethan lay on the bed, his right arm in a temporary splint, face tear-stained but calm. Around him stood not just Nathan and Sophia, but my parents, Derek, and a doctor reviewing x-rays. They all turned to look at me as I entered, expressions ranging from relief to guilt to something that looked uncomfortably like pity. "Mom," Ethan called out, his voice small and childlike despite his teenage status. "You came." I moved immediately to his side, maternal instinct overriding everything else. "Of course I came, sweetheart. How are you feeling? What happened?" As I smoothed his hair, the doctor approached. "Your son has a simple fracture of the radius," he explained, pointing to the x-ray. "Painful, but straightforward. We'll put a cast on it, and he should heal completely in about 6 weeks." I nodded gratefully, relief washing over me. A broken arm was serious, but manageable. Not life-threatening, not permanent. "He was very brave," my mother interjected, patting Ethan's leg. "Barely cried at all after the initial shock." I acknowledged her with a tight smile, but couldn't bring myself to engage further. The fact that they were all here, gathered around my son, when they couldn't be bothered to attend my graduation, felt like salt in an open wound. Derek stepped forward, his expression contrite. "Thank God you got here, sis. The little man has been asking for you nonstop." Something in his casual tone, the ease with which he acted as if this were just a normal family gathering rather than the culmination of a profound betrayal, snapped what remained of my composure. "Thank God I got here," I repeated, my voice dangerously quiet. As opposed to where I was before? Graduating alone while my entire family enjoyed a barbecue. An uncomfortable silence fell over the small space. Nathan shot me a warning look, silently pleading for me not to do this here. Not now. But 5 years of suppressed exhaustion, frustration, and hurt had reached a boiling point. "I just spent the most important day of my professional life completely alone," I continued, my voice trembling but clear. "No husband, no children, no parents, not even a single text message of congratulations, because a barbecue and a pool party were more important than 5 years of sacrifice and hard work." "Alicia," my father began, his tone placating. "This is hardly the time or place." "When would be a better time, Dad?" I asked, tears threatening again. "When I'm back to being invisible. When I'm back to being the responsible one who never gets acknowledged. When I'm back to putting everyone else first, while none of you can spare a single afternoon for me." My mother looked genuinely confused. "Honey, we didn't realize it meant this much to you." "It's just a ceremony," I repeated hollowly. "Just like it's just a degree, just an accomplishment, just my life." Derek, clearly uncomfortable with the attention, attempted to deflect. "Look, what matters now is that Ethan is going to be okay. This was an emergency situation. And if there hadn't been an emergency," I challenged him, "would any of you have regretted missing my graduation? Would you have even thought about me at all today?" The silence that followed was answer enough. Nathan stepped forward, placing a hand on my arm. "Alicia, you're upset, and you have every right to be. But Ethan needs calm right now. We can discuss this later." I looked at my son, who was watching the adult drama unfold with wide, anxious eyes. Sophia stood beside him, chewing her lip nervously. They didn't deserve to witness this, to be caught in the crossfire of adult resentments. "You're right," I conceded, taking a deep breath. "Ethan needs us to focus on him right now." I turned my attention fully to my son, asking him about the doctor's examination, making sure he understood what would happen next with the casting process. I kept my voice steady and reassuring, compartmentalizing my hurt, as I had done countless times before. When the nurse came to take Ethan for casting, I volunteered to accompany him, needing a break from the suffocating presence of everyone else. As we walked down the hallway, Ethan, leaning slightly against me, spoke softly. "I'm sorry I missed your graduation, Mom. I really wanted to go to the party, and Dad said it would be okay." I swallowed hard. "It's not your fault, sweetie. Adults made those decisions, not you. But you're sad." "Yes," I admitted, seeing no point in lying. "I am sad. But I'm also very proud of myself, and I hope someday you will understand why today was important." He nodded solemnly, his young face contemplative in a way that made him look suddenly older. "I'm proud of you too, Mom. Even if I didn't see you get your diploma thing." His simple words were the first genuine recognition I'd received all day, and they meant more coming from him than they would have from anyone else. After Ethan's arm was properly cast, we returned to find the emergency room bay empty, except for Nathan, who explained that my parents and Derek had gone to get coffee. Sophia had accompanied them, apparently more interested in hospital vending machines than her brother's medical procedure. "The doctor says we can take him home," Nathan said, handing me the discharge paperwork. "He has a prescription for pain medication that we need to fill." I nodded mechanically, still operating in mother mode, prioritizing Ethan's needs. I'll take him home. You can pick up the prescription. Alicia, Nathan began hesitantly. About today. Not now, I cut him off. Not in front of Ethan. Just then, my phone rang. It was Linda, my coworker, who had promised to attend the ceremony. Alicia, where are you? I've been looking everywhere. I thought we were meeting by the fountain after the ceremony. I had completely forgotten our arrangement in the chaos. Linda, I'm so sorry. I'm at Memorial Hospital. Ethan had an accident. Oh my God, is he okay? Her concern was immediate and genuine. A broken arm. We're about to head home. Do you need anything? Company, food, someone to pick up prescriptions. Her thoughtful offers, in stark contrast to my family's behavior, brought a lump to my throat. Actually, would you mind coming over later? I could use a friend right now. Of course. I'll bring dinner. Text me your address. After ending the call, I noticed Nathan watching me with an odd expression. Who was that? He asked. Linda from work. She came to my graduation since no one else did, I replied pointedly. She's bringing dinner later. Before he could respond, my parents and Derek returned with Sophia, all carrying hospital cafeteria coffees and snacks. My mother immediately fussed over Ethan's new blue cast while my father asked about follow-up appointments. Derek hung back, uncharacteristically subdued. We're taking Ethan home now, I announced. He needs rest. We'll come with you, my mother declared. You'll need help with dinner and getting him settled. No, I said firmly, surprising even myself with the forcefulness of my response. Thank you, but no. Linda is bringing dinner, and I can manage my own son. The stunned silence that followed gave me a small, vindictive satisfaction. But we came all this way, my father protested. And we were planning to stay until tomorrow. You can go back to Derek's, I suggested coolly. I'm sure the barbecue is still going on. I need some space right now. Derek looked like he might object, but thought better of it. My mother appeared genuinely hurt, but for once, I couldn't bring myself to accommodate her feelings at the expense of my own. We parted awkwardly in the hospital parking lot, with promises to call tomorrow and check on Ethan. Nathan drove our car, Ethan carefully secured in the back, Sophia unusually quiet beside her brother. I stared out the passenger window, physically and emotionally exhausted. At home, I helped Ethan get comfortable on the living room couch. Sophia retreated to her room, clearly sensing the tension. Nathan hovered uncertainly, waiting for the inevitable confrontation. I'm going to change, I said, gesturing to my graduation outfit I was still wearing. Then we need to talk. Upstairs, I peeled off the navy blue dress that should have been associated with triumph, but now felt like a costume from a failed performance. I put on comfortable clothes, washed the smeared makeup from my face, and took several deep breaths before returning downstairs. Nathan was in the kitchen, mechanically unpacking the prescription bag. He looked up when I entered. Alicia, I know you're angry, he began. Angry doesn't begin to cover it, I replied, keeping my voice low. I feel betrayed, Nathan. By you most of all. He had the decency to look ashamed. I made a mistake. I thought the kids would have more fun at the barbecue, and I didn't realize how important the ceremony was to you. How could you not realize? I've been talking about it for months. I specifically asked you to promise you would be there, all of you. I know, and I'm sorry. When Derek invited us, the kids got so excited, and it seemed like a harmless compromise at the time. A compromise implies both parties agree, I said bitterly. You made a unilateral decision to prioritize fun over supporting me. Nathan leaned against the counter, running a hand through his hair. You're right. I screwed up badly. But does one mistake erase 12 years of marriage, 5 years of me supporting you through your degree? Supporting me? I repeated incredulously. You complained constantly about my absence. You made me feel guilty for studying. You took the kids to events without even trying to include me. And then on the one day I needed you to show up for me, you chose my brother's party instead. That's not fair, he protested. I've been juggling work and childcare and house maintenance while you were in class 3 nights a week. And I've been working full-time while studying nights and weekends for 5 years to build a better future for our family. I countered. We have both made sacrifices, Nathan. The difference is that I would never, ever have missed an important milestone of yours. The truth of that statement hung between us. Nathan knew I was right. For all his complaints, I had always shown up for his important moments, rearranging my study schedule, missing classes if necessary. What do you want me to do? He asked finally. How do I fix this? I shook my head slowly. I don't know if you can fix it immediately. I need time to think about what this means for us, about whether I can trust you to value me and my accomplishments. Are you saying you want a separation? Alarm crept into his voice. No, I clarified. I'm saying I need space to process what happened today. I'm going to stay at the hotel I booked for my parents, just for a week. I need to clear my head. A week, Alicia? Be reasonable. Ethan has a broken arm. He needs his mother. Ethan has a father who apparently is perfectly capable of making decisions without consulting me, I replied sharply. He'll be fine for a few days with you in charge. I'll check in on him daily and come back if there are any complications. Nathan looked like he wanted to argue further, but seemed to realize he was in no position to deny me this request. When will you leave? After Linda brings dinner and I explain things to the kids, I'll pack tonight and leave in the morning. As if on cue, the doorbell rang, announcing Linda's arrival. She brought not only dinner, as promised, but also a graduation gift, a beautiful leather portfolio embossed with my initials and a card signed by several coworkers. "We're so proud of you," she said, hugging me tightly. "You worked so hard for this." Her simple acknowledgement brought fresh tears to my eyes. This was all I had wanted for my family. This basic recognition of my achievement. After dinner, while Linda helped Nathan clear the dishes, I sat with both children to explain my temporary absence. I reassured Ethan that I would check on him every day and that I wasn't leaving because of his accident. "I just need some quiet time to think," I told them. "Sometimes adults need space, just like you do when you get overwhelmed." Sophia, more perceptive than I'd given her credit for, asked directly, "Is this because we missed your graduation?" Partly, I admitted, not wanting to lie. I was very hurt by that. But this is more about me needing to figure out what I want going forward. It's not a punishment for anyone. It's just something I need. To my surprise, both children accepted this explanation with minimal protest. Perhaps they sensed the depth of my hurt, or perhaps they were simply exhausted by the day's events. Either way, they hugged me goodnight with extra fierceness, as if already missing me. The next morning, I packed a small suitcase and drove to the downtown hotel, checking into the room I had originally reserved for my parents. The irony was not lost on me. As I settled into the quiet space, I felt a strange mixture of grief and liberation. For the first time in years, I had put my own needs first. The guilt I had expected to feel was surprisingly absent, replaced by a newfound sense of self-respect. Over the next few days, I received a flurry of apologetic texts and calls. My parents left a tearful voicemail admitting they had been thoughtless. Derek sent an elaborate flower arrangement to the hotel with a card acknowledging his selfishness. Nathan called every evening, his tone increasingly desperate as he realized I was serious about this time apart. I spent the week reflecting on my relationships, my career goals, and what I wanted from the next phase of my life. I visited Ethan daily, bringing small gifts and helping him adapt to one-armed living. I had lunch with Sophia at her school, reassuring her that family challenges were normal and resolvable. I spoke with my boss about the senior analyst position, which had been unofficially offered to me. By the end of the week, I had reached several important conclusions. My family's behavior had revealed a painful truth about how they valued my contributions and aspirations, but it had also given me clarity about my own worth and the boundaries I needed to establish going forward. When I finally returned home, I was ready for the difficult conversations that would reshape our family dynamics. 1 week after my graduation ceremony, I drove home from the hotel with a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in years. The time alone had been transformative, allowing me to process my hurt without the constant pressure to forgive prematurely for the sake of family harmony. Nathan was waiting for me on the front porch, a tentative smile on his face. He helped carry my suitcase inside, where the house was surprisingly clean and orderly. I later learned he had hired a cleaning service, a gesture that acknowledged how much domestic labor I typically shouldered. "The kids are at school," he said. "I thought we should talk privately first." We sat at the kitchen table, the scene of countless family meals and homework sessions. The familiar setting underscored how much had changed in just 1 week. "I've been thinking a lot about us, Alicia," Nathan began. "About how I've taken you for granted, about how I failed to support you when it mattered most." I nodded, appreciating his directness. "I've been thinking too," I said, "about what I need from this marriage going forward." "Tell me," he said. And for perhaps the first time in years, he seemed genuinely ready to listen. "I need respect for my accomplishments, not just lip service. I need a true partner who values my goals as much as his own and the children's. I need to stop being the default parent, the default housekeeper, the one whose needs always come last." Nathan didn't become defensive as he might have before. Instead, he acknowledged the truth. "You deserve all of that. I see now how I've been putting you last, even while complaining about your absence. It was unfair and hypocritical." We talked for hours, more honestly than we had in years. Nathan revealed his own insecurities about my educational advancement, fearing I would outgrow him professionally. I shared my resentment over bearing the mental load of family management. We discussed practical changes, like hiring occasional help with housework and creating a fair division of parenting responsibilities. When the children returned from school, we had a family meeting. Ethan, his cast now decorated with colorful signatures, sat solemnly as we explained that we were working through some challenges, but were committed to being stronger as a family. "Does this mean you're staying, Mom?" Sophia asked, her voice small. "Yes," I assured her. "But it also means some things will be different." I'll be starting a new position at work soon with more responsibility, and everyone in this family needs to contribute more at home. To my surprise, both children readily agreed. Ethan volunteered to take over lawn mowing once his arm healed, while Sophia offered to be responsible for laundry sorting. They seemed almost relieved to have concrete ways to help. Over the next few days, I had similarly forthright conversations with my parents and Derek. I invited them over individually, not wanting to feel outnumbered. My parents arrived first, bearing gifts and apologies. My mother handed me a card containing a substantial check, clearly hoping to buy forgiveness. I returned it gently but firmly. This isn't about money, I explained. This is about recognizing a pattern that has existed my entire life. Derek's events always take priority. His achievements are celebrated while mine are minimized. My father looked genuinely surprised. We had no idea you felt this way, Alicia. That's part of the problem, I replied. You never asked. You never noticed. The conversation was uncomfortable, but necessary. I didn't demand dramatic promises. Instead, I established clear boundaries. I would no longer accept last-minute cancellations or secondary status in family priorities. I would no longer exhaust myself trying to earn approval that was freely given to my brother. Derek's visit was equally revealing. Without the buffer of our parents or my children, he was forced to confront his role. I never intentionally tried to overshadow you, he insisted. Intent does not erase impact, I countered. Your barbecue could have been scheduled for any weekend. You chose my graduation day, then refused to change it. To his credit, Derek didn't make excuses. You're right. I've been selfish. I think I've gotten used to being the center of attention in this family. We reached an understanding that would require ongoing effort. I didn't expect decades of patterns to change overnight, but I was no longer willing to accept being an afterthought in my own family story. The weeks that followed brought gradual healing. Ethan's arm mended steadily, a visible reminder of how resilience can follow injury. My promotion to senior analyst came through, complete with a significant salary increase and a private office. The extra income allowed us to hire a weekly cleaning service, relieving some domestic burden. Nathan followed through on his promises, taking on more parenting responsibilities and making a point to celebrate my professional achievements publicly. The children, watching their parents model new behaviors, began showing more appreciation for my contributions. Perhaps the most meaningful gesture came a month after graduation. Derek organized a small surprise party specifically to celebrate my master's degree. He invited my close friends and colleagues, ordered a cake decorated with my university's colors, and gave a speech acknowledging my determination and intelligence. My parents attended, bringing a framed professional photograph of me in my graduation regalia they had commissioned. It was a lovely evening, but its significance went beyond the celebration itself. It represented a shift in how my family perceived my accomplishments, a recognition that my milestones deserved the same attention and respect as anyone else's. As I prepared to hang my diploma in my new office, I reflected on the unexpected journey that had followed my graduation day. What should have been a simple celebration had instead become a catalyst for profound change in my most important relationships. I learned that sometimes the greatest gift of education is not the degree itself, but the self-knowledge that comes with it. I learned that standing up for myself didn't mean losing my family, but rather creating healthier connections based on mutual respect. I learned that setting boundaries, though initially painful, ultimately allows for more authentic relationships. Most importantly, I learned that my worth was not determined by others' recognition, but by my own sense of accomplishment and integrity. The empty seats at my graduation had initially felt like rejection, but they had ultimately led to a fuller understanding of my own value and the courage to demand that others recognize it, too. Sometimes, the deepest wounds lead to the most significant growth.